Hello, this is Michele Zaragoza, team leader for Central Valley over here at Modesto, Manteca, Lodi, Tracy, and Stockton. We are here because we had a request about masterminding on agent offers or offers that our agents are putting in, either contingent, non-contingent, contingent upon inspections, contingent upon I don't know, you name it, right? So I do want to chat about that when people start popping on, and I want to see what's going out there with you guys first, and before I actually start talking with our guest speaker who's not on yet, but he will. But I do really want you guys to participate. I want you to show your face and participate. It's getting more and more. It's disrespectful when we don't show ourselves. It's to our speaker, right? So I like the majority of us to show. I mean, there's times when I'm on at 7 o'clock this morning. I had a 7 o'clock and I had a hat on because I just got done working out, but at least I'm on and I'm participating. So I just encourage you guys all to just lead by example. Let's do this. I would rather be where Lupita is. Where are you? I like your background. I need to change mine up. Someone needs to help me.
You can.
Anyway,
You just got a background.
it's pretty, pretty. Love it, love it. Okay, so you are a buyer's agent, my friend, correct? Babita?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what's going on in your world. Tell me about the kind of offers that you're writing, and tell me how successful you are with the offers.
Skip.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Not a problem. And you know
I,
what?
and it's removing contingencies has been successful for us in the team. As we know, the market is very competitive. So you got to throw in $20,000, $30,000 more over asking price, removing contingencies. You let the clients know what's going on. For me, it has taken several offers to just get one accepted.
Got it. So several offers in order to get one accepted. I got it. I got it. Tell me what's going on with you guys in the sense of Crystal. What kind of offers are you putting in, and where's your obstacles?
Me? Good morning. Actually, so
Hold on.
okay.
You're good. I just muted them.
Okay. My request for this was for subject to viewing and inspection. So how are we to put in an offer to strengthen when we haven't even seen the property? But I'm getting offers at list price and even under. I'm still getting credits. So just writing in the strength that in the way that is desirable to the seller. So what are their concessions? What are their needs? And making that relationship with the listing agent.
Janet McMahon, are you going through anything such as that? Are you writing offers like she's writing?
Well, I'm lucky that I'd say 75% of my business is listings. So what I'm finding when I'm getting the calls on my listings, well, what's the seller looking for? And I tell them, but they're still not coming through with what I said. So, as far as terms, yes, they need rent back. For instance, I had one listing where we had roof repairs that were recommended, $1,700. I put in the agent confidential remarks. Sellers willing to give $1,700 for roof repairs because we weren't sure how many offers we were going to get. So I said, sellers willing to do roof repairs or give roof repairs for closing credits. And I explained that to people when they called, buyer's agents. And I would say 5 of them got what I was explaining. 2 of them still asked for the roof credits. 5 of them declined the roof credits. So look for that when you're writing your offers to make a difference.
So you guys, what I heard is make sure you're reading everything, right? Right, Janet? I mean, these people weren't reading the whole thing on the MLS. How do you not do that when you're writing a strong offer. You have to.
Yep.
Because, but it also put a bad taste in your mouth as the listing agent, correct?
Right, right. And then they call and they say, well, what do the sellers want? I'm like, they want highest and best. They go ahead and offer 60,000 above list, protect it. And look at your terms. San Joaquin County, know where you're at, know where you're writing your offers at. Are you writing it in Alameda where the buyers usually pay, what is it, the 100% of the title fee? Or are you writing it in Stanislaus where the seller does? Or are you writing it in San Joaquin where it's 50-50? Then you know where you could be competitive, because most of those agents that are out there are not looking at that. If you do, and you say, all right, my buyer is willing to pay all of the seller's title and escrow fees. The seller just netted, depending on the price of the home, anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500 more in their pocket.
Wow. Wow. So you guys, what was your takeaway just with that conversation right there? Crystal, I think you're muted. Oh, wait. There you go.
Yeah, so give where you can give, right? So if you are educated enough knowing where we can make a difference, small differences matter. So if you can talk to them, being educated in each county, again, reading what's on the MLS listing, when you ask the question.
Talk a little louder, Crystal. Nobody can really, for some weird reason, hear you.
No.
People are texting me.
Listening to the agent when you make that connection, making sure you understand what they're saying, knowing what's acceptable where in which county, and if you can give in those little ways, give. You can uncheck those boxes are side by side, on top of one another currently in this our RPA right now. You give in some of that, it does show, and then highlighting that in your offer summary, right? Highlighting all of your strengths, addressing those things where you are paying attention. That's what I heard.
That is key, Crystal, highlighting it, because unfortunately some agents won't even comprehend that. But highlighting it in the body of your email. I mean, even the seller or the transfer fee, if the city or county has a transfer fee, that adds up. And some agents won't catch it if you don't highlight it. Home warranties, there's $490 right there. That adds up.
Great. Thank you so much. Taylor, I see you're on here. Tell me what's going on in your world. How are you getting offers accepted? And do you write it contingency or contingent upon viewing or anything like that? Anything creative? What's going on?
So I tend to, it just all depends on the house and how long it's been on the market. I'm not for writing non-contingent offers, but I do make sure I talk to the listing agent in depth and I make sure they know who I am before I'm submitting an offer. And that the terms are all what they want to see. Who are they pre-opened with? What's the seller looking for? Is there anything specific that can make us stand out? But I really think it's like communication with the listing agent so that they know you're on top of it. And having your lender reach out helps too.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so let's paraphrase that. What did someone hear from that? That was a good takeaway. Thank you, Taylor. Which, by the way,
That was really good.
Go ahead, Jen.
I wanted to know Taylor said, the listing agent, she wants the listing agent to know who she is. What does she say when she does that to the listing agent?
And by that, I guess I just mean reaching out multiple times, not bugging them, but being sure that they know an offer is in their inbox. They know who it's from, because when you're a listing agent and you're receiving multiple offers, it's overwhelming. Your inbox is just full, and it's easy to be skipped because everyone is saying the same thing, pick us, but you need to find a way to stand out. So telling them, okay, hey, did you get my email? I just want to make sure. Here's our terms again, lay out the terms again in a text, tell them over the phone. Make sure that they know who you are, that your emails aren't just getting skipped over.
And to piggyback on what Taylor just said, it's, how they always teach us to build a rapport with the clients, mirror and match and all that. It's the same thing with those listing agents.
Mm-hmm.
Build a rapport. If they said, oh, sorry, I was at my kid's soccer game, then the next time you talk to them, ask them about that soccer game and build that rapport. Right, Taylor?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Who else has got something like that going on? What are you doing different to get your offers accepted? Janice, go.
So my most recent one, I would say that the reason that my client's offer got accepted was the fact that I did reach out to the listing agent. The listing agent and I had built the rapport. There was already an offer in. And I can't express how many, I don't know. I think I must have written about 7 or 8 different offers. I did talk to the listing agents each time. But again, I was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And with this particular one, I think being upfront, honest, and transparent with the listing agent, letting her know, hey, we're ready to rumble, is what did the trick. And I will say that I would work with that listing agent again in a heartbeat, because she was upfront, honest with me as well. So it's been a nice, smooth transition.
Communication is key, you guys. It truly, truly is. I've heard this since the very first conversation that we just had on this call 13 minutes ago. Communication is key, and the thing is, we also want to make sure those 3 requirements. Can I trust you? Do you care about me, right? And will you actually truly help me? And you want to make sure that relationship is stable, and that you are sharing everything and communicating and being straight up. I think that's very, very important. Rohini, you've been doing this for a while. Talk to us. What's going on in your world? How are you getting offers accepted? And are you doing contingent? Because we really want to focus on that as well, because that's the reason why we had this call, is people are struggling with contingent upon viewing, contingent upon appraisal value coming in, or things like that. You're muted, baby doll.
Michele, while she's unmuting, are you just meaning like writing with an inspection contingency, writing with an appraisal contingency? Is that what you're meaning by contingent, or contingent upon selling a home?
I'm gonna let Crystal chime in. Crystal, you just muted yourself.
So this,
Adam,
I know we're working on it.
awesome.
Okay. We are working, this started because I got beat out on a contingent subject to viewing / inspection, right? We hadn't even stepped foot in the home. And I'm asking the question about the mentality. When we write that offer specifically with that situation in front of us, are we writing highest and best? Are we just wanting, I thought, to me, it was, we need to get in the door. Here's a full price offer. And I was asked to come up before we had even seen the home. No one got to see the home, but they accepted a cash offer, right? How did they know what I was going to do? How did they know our willingness? I had thought spelled that out. And so my question is that mentality, are we writing it to win and going backwards? Are we writing it to get in and then readjusting and moving forward? Are we just writing it to get in and, we have those 3 days to get back our letters, 3 days for our our pre-approval letters, like we will get those those items with the offer. And so that's kind of why I'm asking.
I hope it wasn't a KW agent on the other side. I think you're doing like a disservice to your client when you're doing that, because you're not you don't know what people are willing to offer unless you give them a chance to make that happen. That sucks.
Taylor, be a little bit more detailed for people who aren't 100% understanding, and for people who need to understand the KW culture. So tell me again why you said, I hope that wasn't a KW agent. This is important, you guys.
Because as a listing agent and as a seller, you want to get as many people through the home as you can to get into a multiple offer situation, to get top dollar for the home. So Crystal is not able to see the home. So she's like, okay, well, we can't see it, but at least let's write at list price so that they go, okay, this is a serious client, to get their foot in the door. But it's doing a disservice to the seller, because if they were able to see it before writing the offer, they may say, oh, we really love it. Let's definitely go over. Let's say that we'll be willing to write 5,000 over the appraised value because we've been looking for months and we love it. But without seeing it, you're not going to find someone unless they're a cash buyer. It's an investment that wants it.
So why did I automatically, mentality, right? This is answer my questions because I can't process. Why did I automatically lose to a cash buyer when they didn't know what I was going to do?
Right. I'm not saying, like, I would wonder the same thing, but as a listing agent, that agent obviously closed-minded, can't explain to their seller, hey, we should get people in the door because cash isn't always best. Some lenders are able to compete just as good if the client's underwritten, pre-approved. But I think there's lots of agents, because of how our market is, that will say, hey, this one's cash, let's go with it. It's going to be easy, right?
Thank you so much, Kyle. Welcome, Kyle. I'm so excited to have you as our guest speaker, and I'm so excited you answer your emails early. So we've had Kyle on as one of our speakers in one of our team meetings before. He's one of the top 100 in Keller Williams buyer's agent, and you're on Carolyn Woe's team, hello, who speaks with Gary Keller time and time again. Probably you've had dinner with him, I'm sure of it, a few times. So tell me, you've heard this conversation. I've seen you on for a little bit right now. So how do you respond?
Yeah, so I think I missed the very first part of the conversation, kind of knowing what's going on. But what I think I gathered from this is that somebody wrote an offer, or the sellers are not allowing them to kind of see the property, and they lost out to a cash offer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, our market's still a little bit different here. I do agree with Taylor that, like, I think that listing agent's doing a huge disservice to the buyer community as a whole and to the agents, because, you know, if you're not able to see a property, how are you able to decide where to make a multiple offer counter situation in that? And so I think, like, that would just kind of, what was the reasoning for not allowing you guys to see the property?
Crystal, you're muted, babe.
Tenants. So it was, they didn't want to allow anybody in. You know, there was 4 offers. I got asked to come up prior to even viewing, and I lost out ultimately to something that we could have competed with, but it was cash.
Yeah, that's a super frustrating place to kind of be in. You know, I think the challenge is, you know, with tenants, everyone's difficult when it comes to tenants. But I think if I was the listing side of that, I would have said, hey, like, look, you know, we got to have at least one day where we can do some of this. I have seen, and we have done, you know, a contingency upon viewing it. But again, you know, I think, like, the conversation with any type of contingencies is, you know, we all start in a level playing field. And any contingency that we either put in or take out, you know, either moves us up in a multiple offer situation or moves us down. And, you know, right now, unfortunately, in the environment that we're in, you know, the non contingent offers are typically the ones that win. I've done 2 in the last month that were VAs and like chopped full of contingencies, and somehow we got both of them. But I think it's just the conversations that you have with the listing agent as well, and then how you prep your buyers, for that conversation. But I do think like the challenge with tenants is, I mean, that's a sticky situation in terms of like if they don't necessarily want it in. I think we did see that kind of at the very first of COVID, where somebody would put their house on the market and then they don't want anybody touring it because of COVID. I think, in that situation, if you have to get out and you have to move, then that's one thing. But if you're just putting it on the market to take advantage of the market, then you have to allow people to show it, right? I'm not going to go buy something that I can't physically see and touch and smell. It's just very difficult, right? So in that situation, unless that buyer, that's their house that they're going to be madly in love with, and they're going to be very upset if they don't get it, then that's a different conversation.
Thank you so much. Okay, so what other questions you guys have? We have Kyle on. We could. Did somebody else have a question? I just saw something. Okay, go ahead, Crystal. Or
I did, yeah, I had a comment for Crystal. So Crystal, based on what I heard, I got on a little bit late. Probably, I mean, you have to think like the seller too, right? If they're accepted a cash offer, most likely that cash offer removed a ton of contingencies. Obviously, most likely no appraisal, most likely no inspection, or a very short window of that. So that's probably the reason, without being beat out. Knowing you had competition going in, then the mindset would be write your absolutely highest and best and work backwards, as you said. You're going in as strong as you can, knowing when I see it and when I have my discovery period, I now have the right to renegotiate my terms because I went in without knowledge. So that's how I get buyers to write offers subject to. I say, look, it's written in the contract, paragraph 14. You have the right to inspect. You're buying this home as is, regardless, right? It's in the contract. We're not making it up. So really what you're seeing is, am I accepting this house at the price I submitted based on what I now know after the fact I was able to enter the property, right? And everybody's on that playing field for that particular house. Like nobody got to see it. So it 100% comes down to competition. I've written lots of offers subject to, but I've been the only one, and it's been sitting on the market. It didn't have multiple offers. So those are the ones I look for. I actually look in MLS for subject to that have been sitting on the market for 15 days or more, because I know I will have no competition.
that is smart.
So going backwards in that mentality, because right, to me, it's like, okay, you walk onto a car lot and you expect to go backwards. Whereas here we want to get in, and you are accepting us to get in, not expecting us to go backwards, especially in this market, right?
Yes, but if they have no reports for you, like no reports whatsoever, no disclosures up front, if they're not giving you all that information day one, then they're, as a seller, they're opening themselves to you renegotiating your price, because now you've discovered stuff that maybe they didn't even know. Right? Now you did your inspection, you'll be like, oh, it needs $20,000 worth of work because of X, Y, and Z. Now, Mr. Seller, do you want to go back on the market with now having to disclose this as material fact, or are we going to readjust our price? Regardless, though, the buyer has to feel really good of the price they're offering, because it is, in that case, there was multiple offers, right? So even at the higher price, are they willing to accept it in as is condition if the seller's not willing to come down after you discover what you discover?
Well, I think you make a very interesting point there. And I think one thing that's also very kind of fun to look at and kind of go through is, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before the market was super insane, we had this kind of definition of like a buyer. We wanted somebody who was ready, willing, and able, right? Are they ready to go? Are they willing to like kind of play? And are they able to purchase? Do they have everything in order? And now, like when we're having our buyer investigations and we're going through and we're talking through some of our strategy sessions, we're talking to our buyers about that, but then we're adding in, are you ready, willing, and able? And can you be competitive, right? So in our environment here, like a ready, willing, and able buyer may not be able to get the house that they want, but a ready, willing, and able and competitive buyer can. And so, I mean, right now our market is just moving still so quickly. You have to be ultra competitive And even when we're talking about pricing that, I always tell my buyers, look, if you want to even get the call back, we have to be top two, right? Like we don't have the opportunity anymore of like putting out a really good number and hoping for a multiple counter, or putting out a really good number and hoping that, you know, because of our relationship, we'll get the call back. A lot of times we still do, but we can't bet on that every single time. And so if in this environment, to be in that ready competitive market, you have to be top two. And so it has made the buyer's agent job a little bit more difficult, just in terms of like really knowing the numbers, really knowing what's pending, what are they going to sell at, having some of these, you know, rapport building conversations with the listing agent, so that way when you get to offer day, you've got as much knowledge as you can, and you can prepare that buyer to be competitive, you know. And then in many cases, sometimes it's very hard to have that conversation with a buyer, telling them you have to pay $500,000-$600,000 over just to be in that top, you know, few positions. Are you willing and able and competitive to do that? Some buyers don't have the stomach for it. Okay, great. Then we need to do, you know, what Patty I think was saying, and look for that older aging inventory. That's where some of that opportunity has come from. And I do tell my buyers, you know, if we're looking for that, I will always look at what's been 14 days or more on market, what has kind of come, the offer date came and went, right? We want to catch people in that little period before they do a price reduction, because if they do a price reduction, now you've got 10 more people who are now maybe able to be competitive. So if you can kind of catch them in that 8 to 14 day window, then that's when you have the opportunity of like getting some of these other things in.
100%. You know, the offer I just got accepted a week ago, same scenario, Jenny, is that we had, what was it? They had a tenant subject to absolutely zero showings. And I literally would text the agent every 3 days and say, hey, do you have a key? Do you have a key available? Is the tenant allowing showings? Like, I wanted to make sure I got my people in the door before the tenants were out. And because I was in the area frequently, I saw a pile of junk in the front of the driveway, and I knew they were getting ready to move out. So I got way more aggressive in getting in. We got in and got it under contract before the tenant was even out. So again, you got to look for those opportunities for your people. That's old inventory right now is 15 days, right? 2 weekends. So that sounds kind of crazy, but it is. Especially those with tenants. Like, I look for those more because I know my buyers have more opportunity of getting them under contract than the others.
I love how you're doing your due diligence. You're really getting out there and looking for your buyers. You know, I haven't heard of that strategy yet this season, if you will. So great job, Patty. Anybody else? Yeah, I do too. What else is going on out there? What other obstacles are you seeing? I mean, you have a lot of seasoned agents on this call right now, so utilize this. What's working? What's not working? What's working for you, Kyle? What's like your go-to?
I mean, besides just like building rapport with the listing agents, I mean, I will call almost to the point of like being obnoxious without being obnoxious, really just to kind of, you know, as soon as I know, I mean, with our inventory, what happens, and I'm sure you guys see it too, the second something comes on the market, that's when you're getting 14 phone calls from your buyer saying, hey, this is interesting, like, let's get into it, check it out. Right. So we're going there. As soon as I know that, I'm already starting that conversation. If I know there's a high interest in that property, I'm already starting the conversation. I'm going to the open houses. I'm going to the broker's tour. I'm meeting with these listing agents to kind of see like, hey, what does the seller need? What's important? Have they found a relocation property? You know, if they've already closed on something and moved out, then that tells me they don't need a rent back. You know, but how can I structure this offer so that even if we're not the highest, we still have a lot of other things that they're asking for? How might we structure this in a way where they want us to call back, right? And I think the last time I was on the call, you know, what we do is, you know, when we're presenting our offer, we're presenting it in such a clean format. It's, you know, 2 things in a Google Drive folder. One is the completely signed disclosures, and one is all of the purchase documents nicely lined up with a cover sheet. So you can really look at my cover sheet and see what all 42 pages of this contract has in it. So, you know, you're not having to sit there and fumble through the email and say, oh, where was their purchase agreement? Or, oh, where was this? And, if there's ever conversations back and forth, I'm changing out that front page before, the offers are done. And, right now I've had many conversations with the listing agents about the family who we're representing, right? So really building the rapport. But I think one thing that's also been very helpful for me, especially in this time when things are moving so quickly, is comps, and really looking at what is the pending properties, right? Sold information is great. It's backwards facing, right? You're looking at a tiny little rearview mirror to see what happened 60 days ago. In this market, 60 days ago, you've maybe lost $100,000 in purchasing power, right? So I'm really looking forward in terms of what's pending, right? And I want to call all those pending agents. This is what's also good about starting day one, is it gives me that time to call all these pending agents. And, we've got relationships with all of them, so it's not hard to get this information, but I'll call them and I'll congratulate them on their sale, especially if I had a buyer who was interested in it. And I'll find out from them, like, how many offers did you get, right? Why is that important? Because if they got 5 offers, there's 4 other buyers who are still looking for properties. So chances are they're most likely going to be competitive on this one too. And then from there, where is it going to close at, right? Was it an all cash deal, right? I want to know this information. Did it go to a cash buyer, or did it go to somebody who's getting financing? Because not all of ours are cash, right? Back a few months ago, we saw a lot of cash coming into the market. Right now, interest rates are so low, a lot of people are still financing, right? But then what I can do is I can take that information and I can start prepping my buyer that, like, look, if it does get to be a competitive environment, here's what we're going to have to look at, right? And so I put it into kind of like a spreadsheet, because a lot of our buyers here are numbers people. A lot of our buyers here are engineers, and they are so locked on that comp number, that price per square foot number, that it's very hard for them to think, okay, well, what does an extra 200,000 look like? What does an extra 300,000 look like? So I put it into a spreadsheet that's kind of got everything broken down in terms of like the active, pending, and sold properties. If it's sold, what was it listed for? What did it sell for? How many offers did it get? And kind of where was that? And then I'll put it in and I'll show them, hey, from top to bottom, here's what we're looking at, right? As you can see, like the pending ones are here. And then with the pending ones, if I know what it's going to sell for, I can put that number in as well, and then project with this square footage, what does that kind of put us in a price range? And if you want me to, I can show you a quick one.
Yeah, that'd be great.
If I can, because I know just me talking about it's kind of
I'm
crazy.
also going to send you guys the files that he sent to us in the past. I'll send that out.
Okay, so this was a property that we just won here in San Mateo, on 7 Del Monte. And this is not exactly 100% accurate because this one closed about a month ago. So again, this is old information. But what I can do here is you can see you've got the active subject property, right? It's broken down here in terms of like price per square foot, list price, sold price, the square footage of the subject of the property, and then the square footage of the property that we're going to be making an offer on. And so then it just kind of shows us here a range. And with this property in particular, you could see that this is sold information. The pending ones I've highlighted here, and I notated that I got this information, right? When you initially look at MLS and you're looking at pending, you don't know what it's going to close for. You don't know how many offers they got. So this is why we're all trying to call, because pending is forward information. I can take the same information here and I can meet an appraiser on site and say, hey, I know you're not going to call all these pending properties, but I know what it's going to sell for. I talked to the agent. This is how many offers they got. This is what it was listed for. This is where it's going to close. So this even helps me on the backside in terms of like having that conversation with an appraiser, because I need to get this house to appraise for a certain amount of money, right? So if you look at the subject property, we were listed at 2.288. And then I called all these people and I found out how many offers you got. You got 1 strong preemptive offer. You got 3 offers. You got 4 offers. And then I can go in and I can say, okay, what was the average percent of it being over, right? And then I can kind of come up with, okay, what is the average price per foot? What is the average sold price per foot? How much was the average over? And then I can kind of look here and I can say, okay, average, if we were to kind of look at all of this, it puts it in a range of 2.1 to 3.5. Well, we know it's not going to sell under where it's actively listed at. So we can take those bottom 3 and we can just take those off the list right now because we know it's not going to sell under. Right. And then I can kind of look at the few right around and I can say, oh, it's not going to sell for that. Right. Things have definitely been selling way over in this neighborhood. So you can see our offer here was at 2.8. which is still a little bit lower for what I was trying to get them to go to. And we could have easily, when we're talking to an appraiser, we could have easily gone into this 1,400 a foot range where things have been selling for, which would have put us at 3.2, 3.3, right? So I really like this because it's very good for our buyers who are numbers driven or who are spreadsheets driven, to kind of take some of this information, because when they just look at our comps, we get a quick CMA, we email it over to them and they see, okay, the average price is, 1,200 a foot. That doesn't mean anything to them because they don't know how that translates into value for this property. This one was priced a little bit low to begin with, so they were doing it to get a lot of traffic in, which they did. And I think there were 6 or 7 offers, and we ultimately got it at 2.8. But I found that just having this information is very helpful for our buyers kind of going through this.
Well, they can see what's going on in the market, and it's right there. So yeah, I think knowledge is power on that. That's definitely for sure. Great stuff.
And I'm taking this information straight from the MLS, right? It looks exactly the same. If I pull up my quick CMA, it has the same active, pending, and sold properties. This is just putting it into something that's a little bit easier for them to kind of digest. And when we kind of have to start having those conversations of look, this property is getting very competitive, and we're talking about an offer, for me to have a conversation with them and say, oh, it needs to be here, right? Because they were initially thinking, oh, well, things have been going over maybe 200,000 or whatever, that puts us at 2.5. We would have been the absolute lowest on the totem pole. They would have completely kicked us out without even calling us back, right? And so I can have this conversation with them and say, look, it could go over 3, right? It could easily go over 3. However, based on this information, this is where I think we need to be.
I love
So,
that.
and then we just put it together in a really nice way. We have a really great email that goes kind of out to the listing agent. And then it's just very easy for them to kind of see exactly what our offer looks like. But again, when we're having these strategy sessions, we're starting day one, talking about the market. We're pulling up some of these example spreadsheets to show, hey, look, in this neighborhood, this is what things are going for, right? So don't expect that just because it's listed at 1.9, it's going to sell for 1.9, right? So having these conversations up front and being able to, really kind of figure out, are they in a spot where they can be competitive, right? Yeah, it's a gut check to kind of come in and say, to try to get into this market and think that, if you're looking into the 1.5 range, you really need to start your process at around $1 million, right? And in that situation, does $1 million property get you your wants, your needs, your desires? Does it get you the neighborhood that you want in, right? So we're having these conversations all up front, so that way whenever, because we've all had it, right? As soon as our buyers are pre-approved for 1.5, what are they doing? They're looking at the house that's listed at 1.499, 999, 99, and then hoping that they have a chance to get into it in a multiple offer situation, and it doesn't happen. So by having these conversations ahead of time and being able to do a lot of these things, we're setting the expectation that, look, if your price point is 1.5, or if your price point is 500,000, and you're in a multiple offer situation,
we're all kind of laughing. We're like, no.
It's insane. If your price point is 500,000, we do not need to be looking at houses that are priced at 499 or even 450, right? In some neighborhoods, 450, you might get a $500,000, $50,000 overbid, right? So we really just have to know this information. They're coming to us because they trust us. They're coming to us because they want help in this situation. And if I'm not being forthfront and coming to you and saying, look, your expectations are kind of whack right now, what's the point? I'm going to be wasting my time. I'm going to be wasting your time. I'm setting the expectation that every house, if I go show you that $500,000 house, I'm setting the expectation that that's what you can get. And so then when they have to back it up and start looking at $400,000 houses, now everything is comparing to that $500,000 house. They want that space. They want that fully updated thing. They want that location, but they're not going to get it, right? So in this scenario and in this market that we're in, it's uncomfortable for me. I had to completely redo the way I was doing my buyer consultations and completely redesign the way that I was showing people houses. And I had to kind of gut check myself and really kind of be able to kind of have some of these deeper conversations and deeper questions with people. But what I found is that by doing so, it's allowing the offers that we're writing right now to be very strong and very competitive, and we're winning a lot of them.
I love this. Okay, you guys, is this helping you? Crystal, is this what you were looking for? I need to know if we're down the right trail here for you guys. Is this helping? Okay, awesome. I see ya. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. All right. Kyle, I totally appreciate you jumping on on a whim this morning. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I really love doing these kind of things.
Oh, don't get me started, my friend. Do not get me started. We'll be doing this once a quarter.
No, well, I was like the productivity coach for such a long time, so it's very easy for me to just kind of, I love this
Oh,
back
I
and forth
love it. Thank
masterminding
you.
thing. So
Thank you. Thank you. Is there
I would
anything?
like to say, can you hear me, Crystal?
yeah,
Okay, so thank you very much for that. The last time that you jumped on and shared, you shared your spreadsheets with us and pulling that data, and it just makes us more aware that it's not always just opening doors and getting people inside of homes, because they end up not liking us if we do that and we don't set those expectations. So again, thanks for sharing with us today. I'd also like to back that up with saying in our area, Squeaky Wheel does get the deal sometimes. I got accepted not as the highest price or the best terms, but because I was, quote, semi-annoying, end quote. So keep up that communication with those agents, everybody. It's happening out there.
well, it's not annoying, it's persistence, and it's making
Yeah.
sure that I'm doing a really good job for my buyer, and I want to make sure that I have the most up-to-date information for them, so that when I come to you with an offer, it makes sense, right? I've already had the conversation about who they are, where they're coming from, what they're looking at. You've already told me that there's 8 offers. I'm writing one tomorrow, and this agent is funny. He's actually representing a buyer for himself, which is always a little bit interesting. So I'm also communicating with his managing broker as well, just to kind of make sure that the information that we're getting is kind of the same. But like in that situation, he's been really great at and forthcoming with information. And I always ask, who can you tell me? Are there any other agents? Like who's writing that you know of, right? Because if I know that information, one of the people I know who I'm going up against, I was competing on them on another offer in the same neighborhood. So I know exactly what their offer structure looks like. I know that they're very creative when it comes to different things, right? So the last time I was dealing with this agent, she was trying to say, hey, we'll release a large chunk of money to you up front. Blah, 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 blah. So by asking some of these questions, now I'm able to structure my offer knowing who my competition is going to be, right? It might be, yeah. I think I see that Janet maybe raised her hand.
Well, I just wanted to say, to reiterate what you said, Kyle, as far as, you know, who are you going up against, who are you writing offers with, and who are you writing an offer to? And when I first got into business 12 years ago, the first thing I did was go to my local realtor association meeting and get to know everybody there. You know, especially the listing agents and whatnot, and build relationships with them. So when I wrote an offer, they're like, oh, it's Janet McMahon. So it's not just about going out and getting buyers and sellers. It's also knowing your peers and who you're writing offers for and to.
Yeah, and I think that's 100% true. And I think, you know, the real estate community in itself is fairly small, right? We're a lot of members, but if you look at the numbers of like listing agents who are out there doing the business, a lot of it's the same, right? And so I want to know who these people are. I want to build relationships with them. I want to know who their grandkids are. I want to know, like, what do we have in common, right? I want to know how can I build rapport with you, so that way whenever I do get in front of you, I know how to build rapport, and I know that you will know by the time this deal is done that we know what we're doing. We will get our stuff done. We will close on time. Our lenders call the listing agents when we're presenting. I will always have my lender call that morning and say, hey, I know you're going to be crazy busy today, and I wanted to catch you before you kind of got into the mess of offers. But I just want to let you know, hey, Kyle's going to be bringing you an offer, which you're pretty well aware of because he's been contacting you nonstop for the last week. He's going to be bringing you an offer. Our clients are very well approved or underwritten or whatever. We make sure that all of our buyers are underwritten before we ever start looking at houses. Their qualifications are there. You know, should they need to be in a competitive environment, they're very well capable of doing so. And then he'll text me right after and say, okay, I had a conversation. And I'll say, great, now my offer is going off to the other agent, and I'm trying to then schedule either time to do a Zoom or have a phone call, right? I always want to make sure that I have an opportunity to speak to that agent when my offer comes through. Because when they're pulling it up, if there's ever any questions, if there's ever anything that we need to talk about, I want to make sure that I have an opportunity before it gets too crazy. If I need to change something, that I can, right? And so if I'll change it, I'll send them the same link and say, hey, I updated this, XYZ is now finished. The same link works, right? And again, I want to make it easy for them. I want them to say, hey, we loved your offer. We want to accept it, download, send it to DocuSign, sign, it's done. They don't have to then kind of piecemeal things together. They don't have to take anything out. Proof of funds is there. Whatever we need, everything is right there. But yeah, the relationships are huge. Go on Brokers Tour. That's the only way you're going to get FaceTime with these people right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, anything else before we sign off here? Okay, Janet has one more thing. She's raising her hand. Crazy. Go.
Yes, on not real estate related, but I wanted to give everyone a heads up and let them know that we have a huge fundraising event coming up in the Tracy office on Thursday, November 11th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. This is our 7th annual holiday boutique.
And it's back on.
Yes, we're back on after skipping a year. This year, all proceeds are going to go to the Relay for Life of Tracy, American Cancer Society. They've had a hard time the last 2 years struggling to raise funds locally due to COVID. So this organization is near and dear to me. So I'm so excited to be donating, to have these proceeds donated to them. What is the Holiday Boutique? We're looking for vendors that want to participate still. It's only $40 per vendor. And if you know someone that sells purses or leather or does woodwork or sells Mary Kay, anything like that, they're more than welcome to join us. I have an application for them, but yourself, come shop. Shop till you drop and get your Christmas shopping done. We're going to have amazing raffle prizes. So mark your calendars, Thursday, November 11th at the Tracy office, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And what does that mean for the Tracy agents? We are going to be setting up starting at 2 p.m. So please keep that in mind when setting your appointments with your clients and whatnot. It's going to be a busy place. And Michele, can I tell them what this has done for not only our nonprofits, but for me?
Mm-hmm. This is huge, guys.
So I started this 8 years ago as a fundraiser event for a nonprofit, and just was having a great time, and we were donating money to this nonprofit. And then through KW, they taught me how to be purposeful. And so I started building relationships with these vendors, collecting data of the shoppers that come through this event. And after 8 years, I'm now starting tomorrow. My listing will hit the market. That's my 6th deal from this boutique. So I have farmed these vendors. I have farmed these people that have come through the event, and I have done 6 deals now because of this boutique. So something to think about. You guys all have that opportunity to, and KW talks about events all the time. Find your niche and run with it.
That's 100% true. Thank you so much, Janet. She also, every single time we have like family reunion mega camp, I always have to say to her, so how many deals did you get last year from it? She always gets deals from mega camp or family reunion. So when she's like sitting in her chair going, I don't think I could afford to go. But you can't afford not to go in my book, right, Janet? 9 times out of 10, my friend. So that's exciting. Who knows what's happening on Thursday? Stir it up with KW, Van Wooten Winery in Lodi. All right, you guys, and that's at 3 o'clock, 3 to 5. It is early because the wineries do close at 5 o'clock. So make sure you are there. It's been emailed out. It's been posted on our Facebook group. And it's all about you guys. Remember, you want to learn about you because you're going to be writing offers on our listings and then vice versa, right? So you want to make sure each office knows who you are. So it's easier to negotiate the deal, just like we were just talking about. Communication, communication, communication. All right, you guys. I will make sure this recording gets out on our Facebook group. So I know a couple of you guys have been private texting me to make sure I get the recording out to them. It will be in our Facebook group. So that way I know you're going in our Facebook group and you're learning what's going on. All right, you guys. Thank you, Kyle. Blessings to you, my friend. I appreciate you. You guys
Thank
have a
you.
great day. It's Monday. Go get your piece of the pie and then somebody else's. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.